Hi, kitty cats. I am Amethysta Herrick, your hostess for the Purplepaw, a weekly discussion from your friends at the Purplepaw clan, exploring the intersection of identity and gender, sexuality and intimacy, and community and spirituality. This content you're watching right here is brought to you by subscribers and supporters of the Purplepaw clan. If you're already a supporter, first of all, let me thank you so much for all of your ongoing support. Subscribers not only receive new content directly to their email inboxes as soon as it publishes, but are also able to interact with every contributor directly, which includes me, and I have no reason to believe that you wouldn't want to do that. So, if you would like to support shows just like this one, as well as the other podcasts, videos, and written articles by our contributors, I hope you will consider subscribing using those links you're going to find down there in the show notes. Well, I am ridiculously honored to be speaking with a new friend of mine, David Allen Brown. Hello, David.
Hello. How are you?
I am doing really well. How about you?
I am also great. It's just a wonderful day, and
it is.
Ridiculously honored is something that I've rarely heard, but I do feel the same sort of like, yay, here we are. And I'm just I'm so honored, pleased to be invited to be a part of this.
Thank you. No, I think this is going to be amazing. So it was just to force us both to quit gushing at each other. David is an author, an educator, and developer of the Convergence method, which is really amazing. I've looked at this now. Convergence helps guide people into self-discovery and development of what you have called personal power, which I find super fascinating, David. Obviously, self-discovery and personal power is a big component of what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
So my first question, though, you're concerned about this, and I know why I am.
Yeah.
Why did you become concerned about this? What happened in life here that got you concerned about self-discovery, especially about finding authenticity?
Well, for sure. And I think that, I don't want people to think that concerned is like it's actually, I became so enthusiastic and excited about this. And it really happened in a very wonderful way through a very specific program. And so when I was in school, as I was entering high school, I was very active and, quite empowered just as a 15-year-old and doing stuff. And so I ran for student government and was elected to the Senate, which was the class representatives of what we did. Yeah, right. Yeah. And as part of that, I got an invitation literally out of the blue. It landed on my desk in 9th grade one day that said, you're invited to be part of a program called the Indiana Teen Institute, which is being held a week in summer at a local university. And it's a sleepaway camp. And it basically outlined this is a leadership development camp. And at the time, because this was mid-'80s, it was specifically to train student leaders to go back and make an impact in their community in the areas of substance abuse prevention and drunk driving prevention. And so there had been some family history with my older siblings. I was aware of this as a problem, an issue, and it impacted me directly. And I didn't really know what I was signing up for. I knew it was free. And it was one of those great God moments where it was just like, boom, this is on your desk. And I said yes, not knowing what it was going to be. Well, what it was, in addition to providing, how do you, community activate, so to speak, what it really was a personal development program that was a week-long. We're going to create a safe space for you to connect with other people, to be told that you're amazing and awesome, to empower you to have a voice, to learn to listen to others, to care, to connect. I formed a bond with people from all over the state who I'd never met before, almost instantly. And I became involved in that program for the next 4 years specifically. I took a couple of years off to go to college, and then for another 4 years after that, participant, youth staff advisor, then on the staff, then doing artistic stuff with that. Like, it became a linchpin of who I was as a person. And the bottom line of what it really was psychological safe space, unconditional acceptance and love, and affirmations all around that started external, but then became how do you have that internally?
So the reason I mentioned, mid-20s is mid to late 20s. I know there was there was at least a moment of catharsis, maybe at a moment where you realized you'd gone downhill and you had to make a trip back uphill. Well, what happened there? Because you've brought in all kinds of great leadership qualities, and yet I know there was some difficulties.
There was always a little bit of an underlying difficulty in that I knew that I was leaving some things out.
Okay.
And so that it was almost the lying by omission, which some of us like to think
Sure.
is not really lying. And I think what started to happen in my late 20s, because the real, that was my arc is powerful, 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 long, slow decline
I
and
see.
the rest. But I think that what started to happen there was I really started to sort of concede that things were difficult, that it was hard being self-employed, that I was tired of having to take shortcuts for money, because people who had careers or were employed by someone else seemed to have it a little easier, a little more consistency, because creative endeavors are hard. And I was back in Indiana where I didn't perceive a lot of outlet for that. I fell in love, which was great. And so that call towards domesticity, I guess, towards settling down and being married to a wonderful woman, and to, what does that look like? And family was nearby. And also, with all due respect, just sort of giving in to what success looks like in the Midwest and sort of buying into the mythology of that a little bit.
Sure. The American dream is compelling.
Right. And seems easier somehow.
It is so much easier. It's so much easier to buy into ultimately what I think is somewhat of a lie. So
yeah, and I think that and that's kind of where we started this answer, was it? It was like sort of, it didn't feel like a lie at the time. It's still not a lie. It was the omission. It was just the sort of, okay, so I'm going to give up that and New York and the arts and being a dreamer and, and I'm going to be monogamous now, and I'm going to, be honest, but also maybe not about some things. And so, that's just, that's planting seeds for a downhill slide.
It is. It is. So you don't have to go super explicit. I mean, something bottomed you out. Is that a verb? That can be a verb now. Something bottomed you out. You bottomed out.
Like that. So jump forward 40 years.
40. Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, my pivot has been recent, really. And the bottom was, well, COVID, I think, really brought it bare. In the end, it's the lying. Now I'm aware of the lying. And maybe somewhere in the middle there, I became aware of the lying of omission. Oh, are you sure you're being authentically yourself? Are you sure you're really, that you're not ignoring something that's actually very important? Because let's stop talking about it as if it doesn't exist. So I came out to my wife as bisexual at the time, because we didn't have pansexual in the 80s, before we were ever married.
True.
And I said, just so you know, and it was a great conversation, and she was completely accepting. And then we said, okay, but we're going to get married. And so you're choosing one person. And so whether you're bisexual or not, she expected a monogamous relationship. And I said, great, I'm in love with you. That's what we do. We just talked about that. We bought into the dream. And I thought, it's not important. I'm in love. This is just one aspect of me. It's fine. This is the lie, by the way. The lie is it's not important.
Yes.
And
so, the lie to yourself, ultimately, not even to anybody else.
So then when I find that I'm compelled to act on my sexuality outside of my marriage.
Yeah.
Right. Now a new layer of shame comes on top of my previous layers of shame, which were there.
Right.
We'd have to dive into why all that existed, what being bisexual even in suburban Indianapolis, Indiana in the 80s, means. But now that I hate this word, cheating on my wife, well, here's a whole new level of shame on top of what's going on. And I can't reconcile the original lie, which is this isn't important, with how I feel. And so I'm ignoring that completely, which leads me down a road of deep self-doubt. And but I'm aware of it. I'm aware that the lie is apparently this is important, but I don't want to admit that. Apparently this is doing damage, but I don't want to admit that. And then I became discovered. So that, now it's in my face. And there was a period of time where I literally went to Sex Addicts Anonymous because I thought I had an addiction that I couldn't control.
Right.
That didn't feel right because I didn't associate myself with the intensity of the behavior or the disease that addiction is. I was able to recognize habits and compulsion, but that's a whole different level of psychology. So part of what came out of that was, no, I think I'm quite in control. And I had some bad therapists at the time who were also very much like, you're right, you're married, so don't do that anymore. You're right.
Sure.
So people are telling me that I should believe it's not important. And so, but it is important. So, so many of us in the queer community have the story of what caused us to deny ourselves. And this is a wide overview of all of the things over a very long period of time that just caused me to deny who I was.
Yeah.
The damage in that, though, everyone listen up, is, I had come from a place of knowing how great it could be to be your authentic self. What took me this many years to learn was how tragically damaging it is to not be yourself. And so it wasn't just that I wasn't blooming. It's that I was shrinking. And so the shame patterns and the guilt and all of that led to me being more and more withdrawn, less and less having a voice, even about just how'd you like that movie? The introducing and not resolving the conflict in my marriage became a dysfunctional linchpin for you've got a lot to atone for, so let's keep you in your place and have you do it. It just becomes, and I tremble at the thought that there are people listening who are experiencing this and understanding. When I finally found a good therapist, he put the context on it, which is we tolerate for as long as we possibly can. And then there is a moment. And this goes all the way back to your question. Sorry.
It's a great story. Don't apologize.
So in COVID, I was, by the way, stay-at-home dad. So all of the domesticity and all of the, the slightly strange role and the way I took that on, proud to be, took a specific role. My family comes back together under the house because of COVID. I'm like, yay, I get to be myself again. And they're like, no, we are not that, because my kids had left for school and had now, this is what we need from you, Dad. We're all in a difficult place. Please don't hover. Please don't fix. Please don't care. I get it. Amongst other changes. It was during that time and shortly thereafter that I began to transition from depression to ideation.
Yeah.
Because for me, depression wasn't being sad all the time. All of the things that I've talked about, were elements. But for me, depression was not feeling anything and just being numb all of the time.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And that became the ultimate looming thought, was if there's nothing here. And then what I think is the transition thought is, if someone said, well, what would make you feel better? I didn't know the answer to that question. So
Right.
in walks
Right.
despair. So then it's, this is bad, and I have no concept of it being better.
Yeah.
I remember during COVID, maybe having a confrontation with my son, or, I mean, nothing big, but just, whatever, just needing to get out of the house, middle of the night-ish, 1 a.m. maybe, getting in my car, driving around desolate streets of Indianapolis, and literally having the thought, why can't I just hit the accelerator and drive into that post right now? Like,
Yeah.
what's stopping me? Like, what would happen? Like, and that was, I mean, in a desert of emotion, I'd had none for years. There was a spike of fear, and that was enough to make me think there's something in there, like literally within me.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do something about it. It wasn't my only instance of experiencing that fear. There were other times, other stories I could
Yeah.
tell. But 2 things happened. 1, I found a good therapist. And 2, I decided to stop bullshitting my therapists. And so I
Right.
walked in there and said, all right, let's lay it all out. I will stop lying out loud, and maybe that'll help me stop lying internally. And that's in fact what began to happen.
Yeah. Let me, I want to sit with this for just a moment.
Sure, that's a lot. I get it.
No. I wanted to say, I mean, first of all, thank you for trusting me, for trusting the whole audience with this story. It is heartbreaking. What is fascinating to me, being bisexual held no sense of shame. It was being bisexual, from what I'm understanding, because you were fine with that identity. It was being bisexual in Indiana. It was being bisexual in a world that wouldn't allow you to express it. So it was not your identity that was the pain, that caused the pain. It was you having to interact within your environment. Am I getting that accurately?
Yeah, I think you are. It's, of course, it's not black and white. There were definite subtle shades of gray and shame within.
Sure.
And some of that was, and you're right, that was all externally imposed. Even the way I sort of
Yeah.
discovered my bisexuality, was I don't know, just a little, I wouldn't say amoral, but let's just say tangential, or, in a way that was like, it was an interaction that wasn't necessarily kosher. And so that always was sort of a thing that was like, oh, well, maybe being that one time, with that one person, and that wasn't really right. And maybe it was all them, and maybe I was a victim, and it was like, actually, so having to come to terms with that I enjoyed what had happened, instead of having to, or being able to make the choice in my environment that, no, I was a victim of something bad that happened. Like, even
Right.
that was a process, and goes to what you're saying. Like, that even I was living in an environment in which I had to make that differential for myself. Was this terrible, or was it okay? And that weird
Right.
sort of like, wait, I think it was okay.
It's funny because I have a similar story. I was a little later. Mine was early 1990s. But I was like, oh gosh, this is just who I am, pansexual and transgender. As you said, we didn't have the words.
Sure, right.
Right. So, I had different words. But I was like, I'm okay with that. And it wasn't being pansexual or transgender that was the problem. It was having to be pansexual and transgender with other people in the world.
Right.
That ended up being the problem. There was the
Yes.
interactions. And I wonder, too, because you were about to go on. Give me one
please.
sec. Because you had brought up, you said you had to sort of frame that within your environment. Who you are. I felt some shame personally. I felt some shame because I was always being told I was wrong. Well, not always, but when you go, oh, this is the person I am, and people said, yeah, you'll be a lot more successful. If we went back to this whole thing about going into industry, you'd be a lot more successful if you cut your hair, if you stop dyeing it black, if you stop looking like this, if you stop doing, that was the only time that I felt any shame about that identity, was this external. If you don't be like you are,
Yeah. Right.
you will be better. And it's like this feels very common now in the United States, at the very least, Western society, I would say. So is that part of what you're saying? The shame didn't come from being who you are, but other people going, if you'd stop doing that, I'd much prefer it.
Yes, and a lot of that was self-inflicted because
it is.
Because for me, I didn't take the journey of trying it out. Like I wasn't out. Like I was struggling so hard to. Like people didn't say don't do what you're doing because I was Superman, because I was creating an outward appearance that, I think by the end most people who I came out to weren't surprised. Okay. It wasn't and I'm sure there were people who were surprised that, for example, when we got divorced, because we had the facade of everything you'd want, house, kids,
Sure.
career, the whole deal. And so I was really maintaining that sense of it. And because that equated to success, the fact that something might tear through the fabric and ruin, quote unquote, success, right. I worked very hard to make sure that didn't happen. And so my expression happened when I was on vacation. I managed to talk my way into being able to have daddy vacation from time to time, which is, being a housewife is hard. And so I need a break. Well, then I would go to Chicago or New York or, wherever. And okay, now I'm somewhere where I'm not going to bump into anybody I know or, and that worked for a while until it didn't. And then I took more and more risk. And then, of course, I got caught. And then, of course, and so, and this is a very standard pattern of cheaters now. I hate that word.
It's, because may I stop you?
Yes.
Because no. It's not. It's a standard pattern of people who cannot be who they are in normal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget about cheaters. Forget about your story. Whatever that was supposed to be. It's the standard story. First of all, it's a standard queer story. Mm-hmm. Super standard queer story. But when you aren't allowed to be the person you are in your normal and natural life, that's what happens.
Right. So, of course, during all of that, I wasn't,
teaching so stern.
Yeah, I wasn't developing, I abandoned all of that youthful idealism and enthusiasm about, how powerful we are within and all of that ability to connect and be your true self. I mean, I knew I wasn't doing that. And so that part all got diminished too. And as great as a father and homemaker as I was, part of the realization was being able to say out loud, yeah, but that's not my calling. What really connected me with the universe? Oh, right. Teaching, loving, spreading joy, helping people be authentic. Oh, right. And so that was a big turning point too.
Right. The story is heartbreaking and well, anyway, well, thank you again just for sharing it.
Yeah, and common. I appreciate you saying that.
Right. Well, the sad thing is that it's like there are probably several people in Indiana right now who aren't even queer, who are doing the standard Midwest thing and going, I wish I could move to Los Angeles and shave my eyebrows or something. I mean, I don't care that was pretty random there, but dye my hair pink, whatever. There are people right there who go, this is not who I am. What I'm doing right now is not who I am. I want to ask, I don't remember, I think it was on your website, I think it's on your website, where you mention that only crazy people talk to themselves. And this was first of all, I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Because I had I had the exact same thought,
Yeah, right.
which is why I'm, focusing on it. But you have mentioned that there were many voices, like actual voice type things telling you, but you're this, but you need to do this, but you are this, but you. So could you tell me more about that? How do these voices manifest? How do you mean by that? How do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, and self-talk is a thing, and it's been practiced in a lot of different ways. But before I even
Sure.
knew that there were books about it, I remember very distinctly having, and again, this is a school age thing. I was in high school at the time, and some drama had occurred. I'm pretty sure I remember the friend who stood me up or did me wrong or lied or whatever. I'm not trying to diminish the drama of high school, like it's real, but some
Yes.
adolescent thing. And I had a ton of energy, and I went for a walk. Like I stormed out of my house, and I'm just walking through suburbia, just working it out. And I think if people really recognize, like I remember saying, like, why would he do something like that? Well, what's he gonna, and what happened, and why would I'm asking these questions because that's very natural. And of course,
I see.
what I discovered, and what so many people discover, is there's answers to that, and they're not coming from the same place. Why would he do that? Well, have you ever thought about that's not the same voice?
Right.
And I remember
Right.
recognizing that very. I remember the exact moment I recognized that. Oh, so and then realize, and then I started studying, Freud and the id and the superego, and Jungian as we got like. I'm like, oh, we understand there are different aspects of our personality and how we express them and how they come out. I'm obviously a very verbal person, and so I have these in conversation, and really just appreciated the ability to have a dialogue about something. And I think people do this all the time. What do you want for dinner? What do I want for dinner? Yeah, what do you want?
Right.
And then I heard the phrase, "Well, only crazy people talk to themselves," and I was like, And then I heard the variation, which was, "Well, you're only crazy if you answer back." And I was like, "Oh shit! Now I'm really doomed because I'm
Right.
answering back. I got there's a committee in there. Are you kidding me?" Like, it's. But eventually, I came very much to peace with the fact that that phrase is a misnomer. It's not
Right.
true. I think you can be concerned if there are other entities in your head that you don't recognize and feel completely outside of yourself. That's
Right.
schizophrenia. And if you see someone sitting on your bed and you're having a conversation, then that might be something you want to look into. Could be paranormal, could be a problem. So, I mean, I get that there are variations. But what I was doing
Sure.
was furthering the the authenticity into actualization. Authentically, I am
Oh.
this, and I am smart, and I am emotional, and I am capable. And then
Yeah.
eventually the third area came in, which was, and I am inspired, and I am connected to something bigger than myself, and there's an energy around me. These are all aspects of me in this human experience as one being. And so the more I can be authentic about what those elements are, and then actualize them in a way that brings them together, because they need each other, because they have different functions, because they support each other and nurture each other,
Right.
and so we talked about that. So where does this inner power come from? Was my question, leaving all of that training when I was young. Oh, it comes from authentically understanding yourself and then actualizing that into a way to deal with what comes at us all the time.
Right. Right. Those, and I know this is part of Convergence as well. There are many books you can find about journaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like writing in a journal.
Absolutely.
And I don't see a big distinction. Like when you're writing in a journal, it's kind of a different voice. I mean, it's almost certainly because you'll pick up a pen. Hopefully, you're picking up a pen and not typing. Hopefully, you agree with me, David.
Yep, you bet.
I don't want you to be like, no, I typed. You're a jerk. But when you're writing, it's almost certainly a different voice than when you're speaking. And I'm going to put that somewhat in quotation marks, but you're allowed to be more honest with yourself when you're writing
Right.
versus talking to somebody else or even possibly in your head.
Sure.
So it's fascinating to me that we we still can consider those pathologies.
Absolutely.
But you are conflicted in your head.
Yeah, because the next wonderful question in the analogy that you're creating, or the example, because a lot of people do journal, is, well, then who's reading that? So there's
Right.
writing, which you say, and then when you return to it, whenever you do that, like, okay, so here's a whole nother aspect of your being looking.
Right.
It's the very same thing, and I do advocate journaling as a method of doing this. I mean, there's lots of ways to become self-aware. The trick is, can you reach a point where you're trusting enough to become self-aware? Because sometimes, there's times, especially if you're just starting out and there's been some neglect or there's pain or there's trauma, these voices can be quite spicy and quite needy and quite difficult. And, that's a big effort to have to put in, because and so let's take this full circle. When one of the voices saying to you, David, you're queer and it's important and it's who you are and you're drawn to it and you're more empowered when you're honest with yourself about it.
Yeah.
And you need to step into that understanding in order to allow these other things to happen. And even though that voice is saying it as lovingly as I said it to my son when he came out, there's still that other voice that's like, and going to resist and be afraid and have tears and shut it down or whatever. I mean, knowing the voices doesn't mean you're in harmony or, as I say, convergence all the time. It's an invitation to conflict. And we have to be prepared to step through that and find the I was going to say joy, and I think I want to stick with that word, and find the joy in the experience of the actualization.
Yeah. You used the phrase, you didn't say it exactly like this, but you said we have to learn to trust. Ultimately, we have to trust all of those voices. I think I would say are an integrated whole. We have to trust all of the voices. I think I'll just put a period there. We have to trust that all of those voices need to be heard, or at least be heard by yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. I guess I hadn't, because the way that I have thought of it, I'm just like, we just need to just get it out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, be authentic.
Sure.
But so much of authenticity is trusting yourself even before the environment to accept you.
Without a doubt. And there's a couple of things I want to say about that. So, but I'll start with my journey a little bit. So realize, I'm in this desert of emotion at this point, as I'm turning the corner and finding good therapy. And he's really walking me through some wonderful
Good.
ways of rediscovering myself. And this is, let's say, 4 years ago or so.
Okay.
And still very disembodied from emotion in general. And I'm trying to decide which. No, we decided we're going all in on this one. So I say to the universe, I say to the universe, I think I'm ready. Like, it's okay. I've separated from my wife. I have my own apartment. My life is in order. I'm doing what's next. And I'm ready. Like, and the universe is like, we've been waiting for you. And I'm like, okay. So I go to Miami on vacation because I deserve it, for freak's sake. What the heck? And of course, I'm doing what I do when I'm on vacation, which is I'm looking for men, and I'm looking for a good time. I'm looking for hookups. I'm on the apps, whatever. And I end up with this man who is just like a fantasy. Like, I couldn't even imagine it. And so 4 months later, instead of just being an app thing, I go back specifically to spend time with him, and I have two of the most unbelievable days of my entire life. And I am totally and completely aware that the universe is just testing. Like all of this dormant, like endorphins and, all of these chemicals are just rushing, I'm just falling in love, just flipping out, like all of this emotion, like it's just, and so finally, the 2 days in, I'm heading back to Indiana. I'm just a crumpled, like mess, like, all of a sudden into this desert has come all of this emotion all at the same time.
Right,
I asked for it, and the
right.
universe said, all right, I'm going to punch you in the face with it. And I literally felt punched in the face by it.
Ugh.
So the first thing you have to understand is that the emotions themselves, because then came the difficult part and the doubt and it wasn't just I'm euphoric in love. It was, and then the spicy voice said, are you kidding me? Like, he's so much younger and it's a man, and that wasn't, are you sure that's what you want? And that was a fantasy and you were on vacation. That isn't real life. That isn't, so, like I say, the voices, they're bickering, they're fighting, they've been neglected, they're upset.
Yeah. Yes.
And what I would invite people to consider, this great, amazing turning point that happened somewhere in the midst of all of this, which went on for a couple of months. I give this pointer. I became so grateful for the emotions themselves. And I moved past judgment. Oh, that's a bad feeling. Oh, that's not what I want. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Oh, anger isn't okay. Oh, you're stupid for thinking you just fell in love. Any judgment, both for the joys and the pain, moved past that into a place of gratitude. And that came out of the fact that I hadn't been feeling, that I knew what no feeling was. And it was so horrible that any feeling, all the feelings, let's be honest, all the feelings now, as overwhelming as they were, I was like, but thank you, bring it on, thank you, bring it on. And so just that I have a friend who was simple there. Her wife was at work and experiencing frustration, and the wife was being, not treated well by the boss. And there was dust up at work, and my friend was angry and frustrated, and there was nothing she could do, of course, but whatever. And I took this same notion. I just said to her, is it possible, rather than fighting that feeling, you can just be so grateful? Like, I'm so impressed that you love your wife so deeply that her pain is what frustrates and causes you pain. Like, that's an amazing depth of love. So can you be grateful for your frustration because of what it indicates about you? And in that moment, she had a revelation. And so, yes, that's a huge part of it. It's all in there. And some of it's really messy. And some of it is beautiful, like being queer, but we haven't accepted that yet. And so whatever it is, wow, yeah, let's dive in and do it. Here's the second thing. This isn't a religious course. Everyone self-defines their relationship with higher power.
Sure.
But I've had people say, how do you know the difference between what's like ego and just like self and cruddy and what's true? Like, these voices are going crazy. And first of all, it's all true is the first answer.
I'll go with you.
And the second answer is integrating the voice of your spiritual self, your inspired self, which is within us too. It's not, in my estimation, all throughout. It's also that. That is the resource, the source of the unconditional love that we are all seeking for ourselves and that we are all asked to enact moving forward. So long as what you are hearing from that voice is you are loved and you are loving, then you know the truth is there. And that truth will embrace and energize and nourish and heal and allow for growth and inspiration within the
Yes.
process. So, in the midst of all of this, these are the core revelations.
I think that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I was about to lose it there, by the way.
Truth is fun, isn't it? I mean, really fun.
Well, you have I what I have pitched to people, I'm going to lose it again.
Good.
What I have pitched
Go.
to people, I'm just
Bring
going to
it.
pick up my handkerchief
Bring
now.
it. This is what this is for.
I know. What I have pitched to people is to accept.
Yeah.
And acceptance is one thing. I think acceptance is, I have said, I think acceptance is the first step. I think the bigger step, the next step at the very, then I'm going to say the bigger step is exactly what you just said. Not acceptance, but gratitude. Mm-hmm. To be able to, nope, going to lose it again. To be able to look at yourself and to go, this is who I am and this is who I was born to be.
Yes.
But that's that gratitude is beautiful. I'm anyway. Keep going, because obviously I'm not doing great.
Well, let's go next step.
I'm not doing
Let's go
great.
next step. Right. So, how do we get to gratitude? It's hard sometimes, and it does. And so, where I was so there's this loving voice that's throughout. And let's just say this out loud. Everyone listening will interpret this into your own belief system. But my God is a loving God. Period.
Yes.
My God is a loving God. The energy that surrounds me, the universe is on my side. The energy that is a creative, dynamic, loving energy that really has all goodwill put forth on our behalves. I don't live a suspicious life. I don't live a wary life. I don't live a victim life. I live an integrated life in which a loving God and a loving universe wants the very best for me. And when I can't find it within, then I know I can find it from without.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so right. So that's number one, which is great. I want to develop the skills and it takes time and it takes work. How do I connect to that energy? That's number one. How do I find that within? Okay.
Right.
Now, get ready. You're going to have your mind blown here because this is
Okay.
right. Because this is
Hold
what
on to my butt.
this is what
Let's go.
authentic living really is. The embodiment of that love is our human form, the experience that we are. Okay?
Yep.
We accept the responsibility, therefore, to be the embodiment of unconditional love as we walk through this plane and as our assignment in this human form. And so,
Yes. So yes.
so
Keep
when
going.
I'm looking for it from beyond, I'm not looking for it in a book or a prayer or a meditation. I can find it there, but I'm looking for it in the face and the eyes of the loving people around me.
Yeah.
Which one
Yes.
I can almost always consistently find, even from strangers. And number two, ready? I am therefore asked to be that for others.
Yep. I love this.
The grace is that some days I'm better at it than others.
Well, of course.
The grace is, hey, today's not the day. Today, the grace is some days I need it more than I can give it. And
Right.
vice versa. Some days it's a lovely equilibrium. The grace
Right.
is in our human form. We are here to learn this and explore it and screw it up and delight in it and get hurt by it and all the rest. But authenticity is loving, period.
Right. What I'm hearing from this is that what we have right now, this existence is the purpose that we, yeah, you know what? I'll just stick a period there too.
I love that. It absolutely is. And so if I'm denying who I am, I'm denying full acceptance of my ability to love myself,
Yeah.
because I'm not
Right.
loving myself unconditionally, because that's the
Right.
vital key word, unconditionally. And so if I can't do that for myself because I'm lying, because I'm unwilling to look under the stone, because I'm
Yeah.
afraid of what might happen because of my environment, because I've been shamed by others who, as you say, well, if only if you did whatever, then
Right.
I am putting a literal barrier between myself and my purpose in life, which is to
Yes.
be unconditionally loving. That's why coming out and being and acknowledging who I am is the moral to this story.
Right. Right. Oh, right. It would have to be.
It would have to be. And folks who are in that process, the process is where you are. Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Be where you are, because it takes we jumped from my mid 20s to my mid 50s there. Maybe y'all
Right.
noticed. That's 30 years of hard work.
Right. Right.
Some people do it in 3, some people do it in 3 minutes. Great. But whatever your process is, beautiful. Know you are
Yeah.
loved and know you are worthy of that love.
Yes. I want to, just because this is what I got to do, I want to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench, because you can look around us right now. We're in the United States.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, this is July of 2025 that we're recording this. You have probably noticed it's not ridiculously safe right now to be the person you are, possibly. In fact, I would almost say that to anybody. It's getting a little dangerous in the United States to be who you are,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of discrimination.
Right.
I don't even know what the question would be. Like, how do we do everything you're saying today? How do we let that happen? And the quick answer of vote for somebody different. I want, that was an obvious one, but yeah, what else?
Because it isn't a political question. I mean,
It isn't.
And I think that's the first thing. The step one is take it out of the realm of whatever this crap is that
Yeah.
seems powerful but isn't real. And that's easy to say, and it's hard to live. And I don't want us to get into some. Just reel me back in after I say what I'm about to say. Okay, reel me back
sure.
in. Yeah, but what about real life and living day to day? That'll be your cue, to bring me back. But let's talk about this for real. Okay, I was living in Indiana in January of 2025. And we can get into the fact that I moved to New York City and what a leap of faith that is. Doesn't matter. He takes office. I won't say his name.
Don't.
Takes office, and immediately there's this whole declaration that says that all these people in the country are invalid and they don't matter.
Right.
The literal next day, I go to, here's a little suburban slice of American pie life for you, to a basketball game for 5th and 6th graders at a private school in Indianapolis. My niece is playing. The two schools are, I swear to God, I'm not making this up, are a very progressive, let's say, private school in the middle of the city that is up against a suburban Christian conservative based school. The two teams are meeting. You with me so far? I'm just drawing this picture for you.
I'm getting it.
On the roster of the home team is, and I didn't investigate, but by my estimation, clearly a transgender player. 5th or 6th grade.
5th or 6th grade. Okay.
Now, this is the day after this big important announcement has been made. This is why I'm telling you this story. I watched absolutely no one on either side of that gymnasium on the court, as a referee, as a teacher, as an administrator, as a guest, give a flying freak about what was whether or not there was a transgender person.
Wait, really?
Did
Oh, that's
register or matter or make a difference. And I only
okay.
tell the story to remind everybody listening, your world is where you are. Look to your right, look to your left. That's where you're making a difference. That's where you
Okay.
find what you need. All of this crap that you can work really hard to block out and it still seeps in is just posturing. Someday, when all of us are gone, historians will look back at this as one of the great political bamboozlements of all time.
Yeah.
The necessary impact, the real life conflagration of what these people are claiming is wrong or wrong with the country or what they've wrapped into this very strange set of conspiracy theories will someday be looked on as one of the stupidest and most damning indictments of the American people that was ever inflicted upon them. You
Right.
can just go to the numbers to understand how stupid this is. When the governor of Utah vetoed the transgender rights bill or D rights bill in his state, he pulled out the statistics of there are this many high school students in my state, 3 of them are impacted by this legislation. What are we doing? Okay, sorry. I told you to reel me back.
No. No, I was not reeling you back on that.
The takeaway here is, because this is the foundation for your question, how do we do what we need to do? Where are you? And the caveat, of course, is if you are unsafe, then do what it takes to make you safe. I'm not saying that you should that it should just magically be okay. I'm saying there are places where it is okay. And if you are okay, admit that you're okay. Because if you're not, I understand. Let's take action. But to be an empowered, loved person in, let's say, a school system that's supporting you, or in a household that's supporting you, or in a peer group that's supporting you, or in a community organization that's supporting you, means that you are supported and loved. Embrace that side of it. And when that conversation starts to go to, but oh my God, shouldn't we all be afraid for our lives as soon as we step out of here? Try to think if that's real or not. And if it is, because in some places it may well be, I'm not denying that. If it is, then seek safety. And if it isn't, then perpetuate the safety. Don't invite the fear in.
Beautiful.
Okay. That's macro.
Okay.
Reel me in.
Micro then. No. Why? What's micro? Because I think each of us. But before we move on, actually, because I want to say I am so glad to hear somebody. This is a really huge, conspiracy, if you want to call it. There's so much money that has gone into this. To hear it portrayed as pageantry, because I think that's a great,
beautiful
way.
Word.
It was basically what you said. Have it portrayed as pageantry. I just went, way to take power away from it. I think that's beautiful. So I wanted to say that first.
No, I'm
all
glad
of
that
this
came
is
across.
pageantry.
Oh,
Oh yes.
Right. Yeah.
So micro level. Now what's micro?
Okay. So micro is returning to the understanding, if accepting the belief, and it's not always overnight, that in fact our function here as humans is to be the presence of love for others.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges, of course, in that is separating your and my ability to be a loving being from, well, what's the before, during, and after of me being a loving being? We've integrated love, unconditional love, into a social and romantic, sometimes romantic, but not always. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, and societal place. It's part of how we function. There's no fault in this. This is part of how we function as the human animal. It's part of what society's brought. I mean, this is nobody's fault. It's just what we do. But the practice of is to remove the circumstance from the loving. When I was younger, I wanted my love to have a result. I wanted this love I have for you. And I'm a writer. I write love letters. I love love letters. And there was a point when I was in a long distance relationship with someone and literally grew up the instant I said, don't send this letter if you're sending it because you think you've written a way to convince her or him how to act or how to respond or what to feel or what to do. And I literally took the letter in my hand and said, I'm going to put that one aside because that's the difference. Oh, I'm loving, I'm emoting, I'm writing, I'm so persuasive. Now you'll behave the way I want you to behave, which, by the way, is the opposite of love. We don't love people to behave a certain way. We love them because we love the way they behave when they're being their authentic selves.
I get it.
The check on, am I loving in order to manipulate, to get, to have a response, to create a household, to create a legacy, to create an opportunity, to, okay, then maybe put a check on that. I can love unconditionally from this chair anyone I choose to love unconditionally, whether I'm going to see them later tonight on a date, whether they're in the kitchen making me a snack, whether they're in a different city and claim to have power over me, which they don't, whether they've hurt me. I get a little sheepish about sharing this, but I've just learned to step into it. When I need to get to sleep and I need to erase my brain, I don't count sheep. I send prayers.
Oh.
And because I'm a visual person, I literally put a map in my head and I say, remember this person from Miami I was telling that story about, which did not, by the way, end in marital bliss. And I also have a best friend who lives in Fort Lauderdale. And I also met someone when I was on vacation in Italy who's important to me. And I also have been to Chicago, and I lived in Indianapolis, and I'm in New York now. And I know that friend moved to California, and I have two dear friends who are in Denver right now. And there's a couple people I have no idea where they are. And I just say, all I say is every day I make a wish that you are happy and know that you are loved. And I bring that person to mind. And you don't have to start with Hitler. You don't have to start with, this guy. You don't have to start with the person who's oppressing you and say, oh, but I'm going to love you in spite of it. Let's all get there someday. When we'll let the Gandhis and the Jesuses and the full masters who are walking among us do that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to start there. You can start with a simple gratitude and prayer and energy of the people who you know without doubt, no matter who they were, no matter if they changed their appearance, no matter if they swapped their gender, you would still love them unconditionally. No matter what. The ones who have hurt you, the ones who left you behind, the ones who you're grateful for, the ones who gave you the gifts of growth and knowledge, the ones, whatever. Doing that before you fall asleep or as a practice. Then, simple next one. You ready? Every time you're at a stop sign, say a quick prayer for anybody else at the stop sign. Oh. And then go.
I like that. Right. Yeah, it's a practice. It becomes a practice.
Do you know these people? No. Will you ever see them again? No. Do you know where they're coming from or going to? No. It's not about them.
Yeah.
It's about you fulfilling your function and putting out into the world the love energy that flows through you.
Yes.
And some days easier than others, but always sort of capable. You pass, then we'll stay in the car. Pass an accident. See that something's difficult. If you're a nurse or a doctor, if you're an EMT, jump out. Take action.
Help out, yeah.
I'm none of those things. You know what I can do? I can send loving energy to that moment, to those people. I can ask for the presence to be there of the ultimate outcome, the perfect outcome, whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
As we get practiced in understanding the power of this faith living, then when we get to the difficult questions, how do I feel safe? How do I love when I'm afraid? How do I walk through this anger that may be right in front of us sometimes?
Yeah.
How do I stand up in protest if I'm called, when I'm called? How do I do the more difficult things? Well, then we begin, how do I go into this workplace with that really
Right.
difficult person? How do I go to this family reunion with that uncle? These are hard things and they're real. And we may come out of there bruised and forgetting and,
Right.
and separated and feeling disconnected and a little bit stuck in that emotional place and needing the conversation to bring us back into, yeah, but when I act this way, when I invite in this inspiration, let me reconnect with what's within, with the voices, with the convergence. Let me find it again.
Yeah.
Then we get back to that place where, okay, now I can take the action that I'm meant to do. I'm meant to be in
Right.
this workplace because all of the sides of me say that it vibrates the string of making me feel good and taking action that's important and being inspired by something bigger than myself. And so in spite of that difficult person, those times that take chinks out of my, I'm not going to say armor, take chinks out of my heart,
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it because my foundation is strong, because I know who I am, and because I've activated who I am into a confidence that helps me move forward. And when I forget, I have the tools and methods for coming back there and
Right.
reclaiming it and
Which
finding
is
it
why
again,
that's a practice. Yeah,
which is
it's got
why
to be
it's
a
a
practice.
practice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think this is amazing. S- I'm I'm looking at the time and I don't know how we got this far in so quickly.
Because I blather on and on, and
No, 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 no. No, I am captivated.
I
So
appreciate
quite I mean,
it.
everything that you've shared here, I will virtually guarantee somebody's going to go, I've got to go engage further with this.
You bet.
I mean, I could just ask the quick question, just go, how do we find you on the internet?
Sure.
But there is no doubt that there are people who are going to want to engage with this further. And I want to give you the opportunity to say, here's how to do it.
You bet. Yeah. And I want to say that, so first of all, the answer to the question is, and hopefully, and likely this is in the notes below, but the website is davidallenbrown.com. And that's
Yes.
where you find all the things that I do. I write, Convergence is a big part of it. And then I also do facilitation and training because I'm a teacher at heart. And just note the Allen, some people want to put two L's or there or an E. It's ALAN, davidallenbrown.com. And so that's great. I want you to know that if you go and look at the Convergence program, you're going to see a big, giant thing that is not cheap, and it's a big investment. It's 30 hours of material. It's a bunch of worksheets. I mean, it's really designed to help people like just really get deep into this.
Yeah.
And if that's intimidating to you for any reason, whether it's cost, time, effort, concept, okay. Because you'll also find a way to just reach out to me and say, David, will you come speak to us? Will you come? I'm not an ordained minister, but the word is appropriate. Will you come minister to us? Would you have an email conversation with me? Can we talk? Can I join the community? Because we're trying to get folks who are working on the program who just need support and want to do live Zooms and want to just talk to each other and all of that. Any way you want to reach out to me, you're welcome to do it. Know that In the Pike is a much simpler sort of, I don't want to call it a quick start, but an overview program that's going to be a lot more accessible for people. Know that In the Pike is also just my willingness to want to provide this for as many people as possible. And if cost is a thing, don't worry, I got coupons that will take care of that. But the way you access that is through me directly, because it's what I just said. I believe in my responsibility to personally interact and provide whatever I can for people. And I want
Yeah.
people to come to me with that same understanding. And then it's not just happy to connect with you. Like, then I'm
It's
fulfilling my
fulfilling the
purpose.
purpose.
Yay. Right. Jinx.
Gosh, you start at the very, very beginning. I used the word concerned about identity, and you said it's not concern, it's enthusiasm. And I don't know that I have seen somebody more enthusiastic than you at this point. All I can say, all I can say is thank you for all that you do, all that you're bringing into the world, because it's going to make a difference. And so thank you for living your purpose.
You just gave me an enormous gift. And we do all the things that we do. No, let me say this the real way.
Okay.
I do all the things that I do, and sometimes I wonder. And that enthusiasm is a great word because it comes from the Greek ethos, which means energy of
Oh,
the gods.
yeah.
Ethos is energy of the gods. That you can sense that from me is an affirmation for me that I am, in fact, answering the call and doing what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know what's next. And I don't know where this great leap of faith is taking me. But the gift you just provided was the reminder it's good. And so thank you.
Oh, I'm going to give you a heart. That was beautiful. It's going to take me a moment to recover from that. As little as I want to do this, David, we do need to shut it down. But
Of course.
I am so grateful that we had this opportunity to speak today. It's been truly amazing. And you said I gave you a gift, but you gave me 2 hours of your time. And that's a huge gift.
Well, it's a delight, and it doesn't happen without you also answering the call. So, yay us
Thank you.
for being
Right.
where we're supposed to be.
Yes. Yay us. Oh, all right. Well, I will do my little closing here. I am Amethysta Herrick, and I've been speaking with David Allen Brown on the Purplecast, and we've talked about living your authenticity, living your purpose, and ultimately being grateful for that purpose, for who you are inside. So thank you again, David.